Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy, and in today's video we're going to be going over the all-new 2021 Range Rover Sport SVR Carbon Edition. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to Land Rover of Salt Lake for giving me some time with this SVR. Check out their inventory in the link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the SVR, we have a supercharged 5-liter V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 15 around town and then 20 on the highway, with power outputs being 575 horsepower and then 516 pound-feet of torque. And then the Carbon Edition adds this carbon engine cover, which looks absolutely fantastic. Says SVR. I just love the overall design of the engine bay, but the carbon fiber is just a huge plus. And then also, you guys probably already saw, the whole hood is also carbon fiber, which another neat little design touch. Now let's go over the rest of the front end of the SVR Carbon Edition. So you guys already saw that the whole hood is carbon fiber. They have painted the sides, but the entire hood is carbon fiber. You've got the really cool venting there at the top portion. And then coming down below, we've got these full LED lights with the LED accent lights. And then we've got more carbon fiber trim around the venting, which I think just looks really good. And then you have more carbon fiber trim along the front. Again, it's called the Carbon Edition, people. And then you've got your SVR logo right there with some parking sensors. And then right here at the bottom, you've got the blacked out trim. And yeah, other than that, that's the front end. Now coming on the side here, we've got 285mm tires wrapped around 22-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear. And then you get the gigantic red brake calipers as part of the SVR package, which I think look absolutely fantastic. And then they've gone for an all blacked out design here on the wheels, which I think matches the rest of the theme of this Carbon Edition. And then notice that you've got more carbon fiber here on the side and then on the mirror caps as well. And then in normal Range Rover fashion, they've got the whole top blacked out, so you're gonna have that floating roofline type design. But other than that, here is your full side view. Now let's go over the back end of the SVR. So first off, we've got a 12-volt just underneath that. And then we've got these controls right here, which raise or lower the rear end, so it makes accessing the rear a little bit easier. Got this giant rubber floor covering. Underneath the floor, there is a spare tire. And then we've got the cargo cover just up above. And other than that, that's everything for the back of the SVR. Now that's pretty cool, but let's go over the lights here in the rear first and foremost. So notice that you've got, again, the 3D effect with the lights because they have little LEDs right there. I think that looks really good. And then we've got more carbon fiber here on the back with the blacked out Range Rover logo, parking sensors along the bottom portion, and then I love the exhaust tip cover here at the bottom. I just think it looks really good. It does come with a receiver hitch there in the center portion. And other than that, that's everything for the back end. Now let's go over the door panel here in the rear. So first off, we've got tons of beautiful red leather, and we've got the black leather just down below with tons of carbon fiber trim. I love the design here with the speakers for the Meridian sound system. You have your window control there at the top, and then the back seats are fantastic. So you have bucket seats here in the rear, and I love how you guys will see the front seats. They look very similar to the front seats. You've got the Alcantara there, and then notice you've got more leather with the red stitching that goes all throughout. And let's pop in. So, pretty easy to get in actually. And then you guys can see I've got a ton of headroom. And then we can see legroom is good as well. And then I like this design here in the back of the front bucket seats. And then coming down here, we've got some venting, more carbon fiber. You've got all the controls here for the rear, so notice that you can push in to change what you're controlling. But yeah, it's super easy to use, and I don't know, I just think it's a cool system. And notice how you have heated and ventilated seats here for the back passengers. That's pretty neat. You've got that to charge a bunch of devices, and then this is the armrest cup holder situation with some netting in it. And then yes, there is technically a third seat right here, but with the bucket seat design, I'd recommend just doing 2 people back here, but yes, you could fit a third person back here, and they have plenty of legroom in the center portion. Now let's go over the door panel here in the front. So we've got tons of beautiful red leather with the black leather down below, and you actually get this tray right here extra storage space, but it's completely carbon fiber. I think that's just awesome. And then notice you've got a speaker for the Meridian sound system right there again, and more just down below. And then here are the front bucket seats. So they say SVR on them, and then just notice how well bolstered these are, but they're actually very soft to the touch here on the bolsters and all that. And you've got the beautiful perforated leather down the center with the Alcantara. Tons of adjustment there on the side of the seat. SVR carbon down below. There is the pedal layout in that area. And then notice even around the venting, we have carbon fiber, because you can never have enough carbon fiber in your life. And there's one more look before we pop in. Here's the steering wheel in the SVR. So first off, we've got beautiful black leather at the top with the red stitching that goes all throughout, and then continues into the perforated red leather here on the sides. And then you've got more leather at the bottom with some carbon fiber trim that says SVR. The whole airbag cover, again, wrapped in leather with more stitching all throughout. Cruise control on this side. And then we do have the controls for the center stack. Notice if I press menu, it changes, and then you can control the center screen right there. You have the turn signal / light stock, and then we have the windshield wiper stock on the other side. Beautiful paddles that feel really nice there on the back of the steering wheel. And then the steering wheel adjustments on the right side, because, well, it's a British car and most of them are going to be right-hand drive, so that's why it's over there. But yeah, that's the steering wheel. Now here's the center gauge cluster. First off, we'll go over the center screen right there, which you can scroll through a bunch of different menus. They basically just give you different bits of information on the vehicle. I love how it's TYRE for tire information, again, because it's British. There's so many British things in this, it just makes it kind of exciting to see. But yeah, that basically just shows you vehicle information that you can change in the settings, all that kind of stuff. Nothing too crazy happening. And then you have the full digital readout for the speed and for the RPMs. So the next thing to go over is the different drive modes that we can go into here with the SVR. So depending on the drive mode, it'll kind of show you a little depiction down here. So if we pop it over into eco mode, it'll say eco. And then another fun mode that you'll probably use all the time is the dynamic mode, which is kind of like your fun sporty handling mode. And then they have a bunch of different off-road modes for different circumstances: snow, rock crawling, gravel, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, tons of different drive modes, and I'll show you those to you in a second again, but they pop up here in the center stack. Here's the center infotainment system. First off, we're going to pop it into reverse. So notice you've got a backup camera with trajectory lines, and look, there's an F-type SVR behind us. That's pretty cool. Those are actually pretty rare. I don't see those very often. But we also have the rest of the camera system. So notice that you've got that bird's eye view. You can go through the different camera views, all that kind of stuff. So from a camera perspective, it's really good. As for the rest of the infotainment system, response time on the screen is really good. So whenever you press anything, it happens instantaneously. And there's just tons of different features and functions you can use on this. Yes, it does have a valet mode, which makes sense because it's a 575 horsepower SUV. You've got tons of ambient lighting, which I think is pretty neat. Look at all the different colors you get here with the SVR. And then I love how they have a back button, so you can just go to the last screen rather than going all the way to home. And then notice that, well, I have to go into dynamic, so we'll go into dynamic, just like it asks. I love how it gives you instructions. And then notice how it actually tells you how everything is set up and how you can change it in the dynamic mode. Sorry about my reflection there, but we do have another screen just down below. So first off, this shows you all the drive modes, and I'll show you the dial you have to push up to actually be able to select the different drive modes, but you have that whole system right there. And then we've got these seats. Aside from that, you actually have to press the button. Don't be like me, actually press the button. But notice that you can control different things for the seats. You have the heated and cooled seats. And if you press the on button, you can turn that on or off depending on what you want. And then we do have the climate controls, which again, you can control with these dials. And if you press the dials, then it'll basically change the function that you're doing between the climate and the seats, which I think is pretty neat. And then you've just got more climate controls here at the bottom portion. Now down here, we've got a bunch of stuff happening. So we have the shifter for that 8-speed automatic. And again, you do have the manual shift function. I love how it's covered in leather. And then we have this little carbon fiber panel that covers up these two cup holders. And yeah, whole thing's carbon fiber. This is what I'm talking about, the drive mode select. So you have to push that up, and that'll let you change the different drive modes here in the SVR. We've got actually our off-road cruise control, because yes, you can take this off-road technically. Stability control, we've got our hill descent control, low range, and then the air suspension to raise and lower the SVR. And then we've got our parking brake right there. Full center console here, which has a fun surprise. If we open it up, it also doubles as a refrigerator because it does have the AC that'll go into it. And then notice you've got some USBs in front of it. Coolest center console ever, but yeah, that's all for that section. Now we have the glove box situation. So first off, you've got the top glove box, which opens up like that, lined with felt, and then it kind of has like a spring-loaded action. I'm not going to let it go, but that kind of like makes so it folds back, so you do have to hold it out. And then we do have the bottom glove box, which again, lined with felt, and that functions just like a normal glove box. But notice more beautiful leather all over the dash, and then all over this portion of the dash as well. Just looks really nice. And you've got the SVR logo. Now up top here, we have a full panoramic sunroof. We've got all the controls for the sunroof right there, and then we do have a traditional mirror, and then it is an all black headliner. Now, my apologies for the glare, but here's the window sticker in the 2021 Range Rover SVR Carbon Edition. So notice that first off, you have the equipment that comes with the Carbon Edition, and then here is the rest of the standard equipment. Feel free to freeze the frame if you want to read through each of the options on this, and like I said, sorry about the glare. But you can see the base MSRP, $130,000, and then this one does have some extra optional equipment added to it. And so we can see our total MSRP down here, $147,435. Let's take the SVR out and see how she drives. Well, let's talk about visibility here in the Range Rover Sport SVR before we set off. So first off, here's visibility over the hood. It's so cool to see the carbon fiber over the hood. And then notice there is the heads-up display. Hopefully that's popping onto the camera. And then there's your visibility through both of the mirrors. They do have blind spot monitoring. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear. So from a visibility standpoint, it's actually really good with all the large windows. And that all being said, let's set off. So we are setting off here in the Range Rover Sport SVR Carbon Edition, and I'm a little bit excited, a little bit nervous at the same time, just because it's such an expensive vehicle. But let's talk about how this actually drives. So for a Range Rover, it's definitely more on the stiff side. You can tell that they definitely tuned this to be sportier compared to most other Range Rovers. Whenever you get into pretty much any Range Rover, whether it's kind of like a base model Discovery all the way up to the long wheelbase Land Rover, Range Rover, they all have the same characteristic, smooth, luxurious drive. But once you pop into this SVR, it definitely feels a lot more aggressive, and you can feel it through the ride quality, you can feel it through the steering. The steering definitely has a nice weightedness to it, whereas most of the other Range Rover models, with their steering, it's a little bit lighter. It's not like they're not precise, they're just as precise, but this, again, it definitely feels like it's been tuned to be sportier. And I mean, you feel that in every aspect, from the looks, but then also when you get into the driving. Now I'm going to pop it over into the dynamic setting, and we'll see how that kind of goes. We're not going to get a crazy acceleration here. We'll get one in a little bit, but the gear shifts are really smooth. This 8-speed automatic they use across the lineup is amazing. It's a really good transmission. It's smooth, it shifts quick, and it just does everything you need it to do. Yeah, I love the feeling of the steering. This definitely feels like a sports SUV. It still is extremely luxurious, right? You still have the super nice luxury interior, but this feels just so sporty and focused. So we're gonna get a turn here, and hopefully you guys can see with the steering, it just definitely has this nice weight to it. I love the feeling of the steering. Now I'm gonna pop it over into the manual shift function here. Ooh, that sounds good. You can hear just a little bit of supercharger whine. That is a good sound, let me tell you. Yeah, definitely, and the exhaust sounds like it pops just a little bit. Definitely a nice sound. Now I can't go too crazy, but we'll get like a little acceleration. And the exhaust, you get little gargles out of the exhaust. Just listen. That is amazing. I love the exhaust gargles with the SVR, and it's quick. 575 horsepower is no joke. It is quick, but it sounds amazing. This is such a characterful engine. I love the sound of it, and I love the gargles. Yeah, you just have to get it just up above 3,000 RPMs and it makes some nice gargles out of the exhaust. And you get just a little bit of supercharger whine too. Just sounds really good overall. But let's get into summing things up with the Range Rover Sport SVR Carbon Edition. So first off, it looks fantastic from the outside. It definitely differentiates itself from other Range Rover Sports. Like when you see this with a giant carbon fiber hood and all the carbon fiber accenting, you can tell that this is something special. And then when you pop into the interior, then it gets even crazier. You've got the contrast in this particular one between the red and the black. You've got all the carbon fiber everywhere, and it just feels special as soon as you get in the interior. And then when you drive it, it drives just so nice. It definitely has this, again, it drives sporty. It feels a little bit stiffer, a little bit more throttle response, and I mean, just listen to that. You can't go wrong with a supercharged 5-liter V8 from a sound perspective. But just everything about this screams sports SUV. And so if you have a Range Rover and you're like, you know what, it's not sporty enough for me, it's not crazy enough for me, check out this SVR. It's so cool. And as for the Carbon Edition, I think the Carbon Edition is the way to go because, again, you get all of the SVR performance, and then on top of that, you get really unique looks that definitely differentiate this in the lineup. And so I definitely think it's worth going for. So yeah, that's the Range Rover Sport SVR Carbon Edition. That's gonna sum things up for our video on this 2021 Range Rover Sport SVR Carbon Edition. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Land Rover of Salt Lake for giving me some time with this Range Rover Sport. Check out their inventory in the link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.